So it's come out that McLaren lodged an appeal for Lando Norris's US Grand Prix penalty. So this is the Sky Sports F1 page on Facebook. McLaren have launched a bid to overturn the 5-second penalty Lando Norris received for his overtake on Max Verstappen during the United States Grand Prix, which is entirely valid and will have to be overturned. Failure to overturn it by the FIA will once again demonstrate yet further corruption by the FIA. So that is on the Sky Sports web Facebook page. We've got some laughing face emojis from the laughers, the laughing boys that think they know something about Formula One. All they've got about their personage is the ability to react on social media with the laughing face emoji. Yeah, useful people in life you are. Now I couldn't find the official document on the FIA website. I've had a look, but I couldn't find it. I've found it on Facebook, so I'll go through that with you now. But remember what we're talking about with this entity, the FIA. They have a hashtag here that says United Against Online Abuse. The FIA perpetrate abuse. Okay, now my last title of my last video was this: child abuser. And that triggered some people, that kicks some people in the mind. And the reason is people do not understand the nature of abuse. Abuse isn't just physical abuse. It's not just sexual abuse, and there have been no allegations of sexual abuse, and there's no allegations of physical abuse. But what constitutes abuse is lying and conditioning people with falsehoods. Okay, in other contexts, that would be determined as radicalization of people, conditioning people's minds with falsehoods to get them to believe things a certain way. You are abusing people who have vulnerable minds, and you are conditioning their minds with falsehoods, and that is an abuse. And that is what this entire sport is doing to the world. It is lying to the world about the truth about what is going on, and in doing so, it is creating conflict, and in doing so, it is subverting people's values. It is conditioning people with the notion that what's the difference between right and wrong when there is a clear difference between right and wrong. And this sport is projecting the notion, oh, it's all confusing. Oh, nobody knows. Oh, you could argue, you could argue, you could argue. And when you project it like that, nobody has any values. Everybody just wants to argue for what they want. And what will happen is those with all the power will get what they want once they've conditioned everyone to accept that the system is all about how much power you wield and whether you can win an argument, rather than determine things on the grounds of what is right here and what isn't. And that is what they're actually doing. Now, that might be too deep for some people, but eventually you'll all see the truth. This is an evolutionary process. It's taken me in excess of 3 years. It's taken a lifetime of learning to actually see the mechanics of life. And I'm still not there. I'm still serving an apprenticeship. Understand that. I'm not trying to tell you that I know about everything in life. I don't. We're all learning. Okay? But it takes a lifetime of experience, and it's taken at least the last 3 years since Abu Dhabi to clarify some of what I'm actually saying to you now. This is an abuse. This is an abuse by the media of our minds. And I'm saying it's our minds. And this includes the strap-on fanboys. The strap-on fanboys have been abused. They have been led to believe that all of the things that they think makes their hero the great that they think that he is. That's an abuse. That's mind conditioning to make them think that Max is all that he's being made out to be. They like that. Okay, they're not going to object to that because they like it. But they're being conditioned with a false narrative. And what that then does, it sets them against us. And they come here to abuse us. They've been incited to come and abuse us. That's an abuse. So I don't care whether that thumbnail jars people. I don't care if the title jars people. it is an abuse. And the FIA are abusers by acting in such a corrupt way, which they've demonstrated, they've evidenced that they are corrupt throughout the 2021 season and ever since, utilising stewards, employing stewards who are evidently corrupt and cannot make fair decisions, utilising the notion of a judicial process, that being their law. Okay, they are applying essentially their law and lying and misrepresenting it, misapplying it. That's an abuse. That's an abuse of power. That's a corrupt abuse of power. And that is exactly what they are. The FIA are abusers, and yet they are gaslighting the notion of being united against online abuse. That is the filthy, narcissistic nature of abusing. I suggest what you do to understand abuse a bit more is just Google it. Go on, there'll be a lot about abuse and the different types. Coercive control. Okay, it's the mental side of abuse, and that's what you need to understand. This is exactly what the media is doing to each and every one of us. And then when you start waking up to that, when you realise what the media is actually doing and is actually abusing each and every one of our minds, you will see that that title is entirely accurate. Anyway, this is the document that I found online, and I hope that it's an official one. It appears to be, but like I say, I can't find it from the FIA website. Published on the 24th of October, yesterday, okay, at 1700 hours, 5 o'clock yesterday evening, okay, to the team stewards, so from the stewards to the team manager of Oracle Red Bull Racing. So it's to Jonathan Wheatley. That's what we call let them race Jonathan, okay. Document 77. The stewards have received a petition for a right of review in accordance with Article 14 of the FIA International Sporting Code from McLaren Formula One team in respect of the decision of the stewards of the 2024 United States Grand Prix. Document 69. Breach of Article 33.3 of the FIA Formula One sporting regulations in relation to Car 4. The team representative is required to attend a video conference with the stewards at 14:30 hours Mexico time on Friday, October 25th, 2024, in relation to the above. Any other concerned party may seek the permission of the stewards to appear. Oh, Red Bull, as the interested party in Abu Dhabi 2021, took Nui, took Horner, took Wheatley in to lie about the regulations of the sport, which the stewards then took Red Bull's side when it wasn't a case of sides. It was a clear case of comparing what was done with the regulations. It's not asking Red Bull for an opinion. Okay, so it should be noted that this hearing will be in two parts. The first part will be to hear evidence as to whether or not there is significant and relevant new element which was unavailable to the party seeking the review at the time of the decision concerned. Should the stewards determine, in accordance with Article 14.3, in their sole discretion, that such element exists, a second part of the hearing will convene at a time to be advised. So what a load of bollocks is that? What a load of bollocks is that? We've made a decision, it's a corrupt decision. Unless there's now some new evidence, then we're not having to deal with a corrupt decision. We've made the corrupt decision and we'll stand by our corrupt decision. No, you're asking the mafia to judge themselves, aren't you? And they're saying, well, unless you can find something new, then unlucky. That is corrupt. That is corrupt. You adjudicated that in a corrupt manner in the first instance, and now your terms for reviewing that are, it should be noted, the hearing will be in two parts. The first part will be to hear evidence as to whether or not there is a significant and relevant new element which was unavailable to the party seeking the review. No, it's the elements were available to the stewards at the time they made the decision, and they made their decision corruptly. That is the issue. It's not about can McLaren find new evidence that the stewards didn't have at their disposal at the time to make their decision. The stewards made a corrupt decision. The stewards made a corrupt decision. It's not on McLaren to bring new evidence to show. That's not what it's about. It's about assessing the validity of the decision that was made by the stewards, assessing the decision-making process, highlighting the fact that it's a corrupt decision-making process. That is how disgusting this is. And again, this is how they gaslight the world as to their version of their legal process. Law. What is the rights and wrongs of that situation? Did Max Verstappen run Lando Norris off the track? Yes, he did. Why did you not penalise that? Oh, unless you've got any new evidence, we're not going to penalise that. That's corrupt. That is people in a judicial capacity acting corruptly, not applying the law. That is corrupt. These people need drilling out. They are filth. Understand that. Understand that. Do not accept corruption, because corruption ruins lives. Understand that. So, one of the things that Martin Brundle's had a say about it, because of the nature of these judicial processes, and what can be done. McLaren have now lodged this appeal. So Martin has been asked to what he thinks will happen.
It certainly did. And you mentioned there about kind of the legal battles and such. Like, how sad would you be to see this all decided at some point in a courtroom?
It would be terribly sad, and I can't really see where it can go, if I'm honest, because what's the remedy? For example, Red Bull didn't do anything wrong. There are no misdemeanors on their part, or Carlos Sainz coming in third for Ferrari, for example, Yuki Tsunoda for AlphaTauri. How are you going to unravel all of that? You can't just...
How are you going to unravel all of that, Martin? How are you going to unravel the result? The declared result by the FIA from Sunday. How are you going to unravel that? Oh, well, you expose that a corrupt decision was made, and then you reorder that result accordingly. That's how you unravel it, Martin. But the day after Abu Dhabi, you were put in front of the world to tell people that there's no mechanism to change what's happened. This is the lying, abusive nature of you, the media. There is no way that this can change, say the lying, abusive media, lying to people to condition people that this can now not be changed.
Just suddenly count back a lap, because I don't think there's any precedent or regulation.
I don't think there's any precedent. Okay, if something happens in this world that's unprecedented, what do? You say, well, something's happened and it's wrong and we need to deal with this. It's never happened before. Oh, we don't know what to do, so we'll just do nothing. Okay? Somebody's just dropped an atomic bomb on somebody else. Oh, that's never happened before. Is that right or is it wrong? Well, none of us know, so we'll do nothing. Or is it that, that's wrong? There'll be a consequence. Yeah? But actually, that's a poor example, isn't it? Because, people have dropped atomic bombs to show their power and show that there's a consequence if you don't bend to their will. Oh, tyranny. Tyranny, yeah. Anyway, you do deal with things. We're going to continually face things that maybe have never happened before in this world. So you deal with them. You use the guiding principles of what is right and what is wrong. And if somebody is doing something that is wrong, you apply a consequence for it. You don't let that wrongdoing stand. What is going on with McLaren is that they are the victims of a corrupt decision.
To suggest that...
So, more adverts from Sky Sports.
Be at the heart of the action. Love football, bet Fred.
I don't know what adverts come up when I put my videos, but the Sky Sports one, they're all betting adverts, aren't they? They want you to waste your money on betting on sports. So I apologise for that, but I can't do much about that one. Couldn't even skip it.
What should have happened is we should have had a red flag.
Lies. Lies, Martin, because we shouldn't have had a red flag. I'm coming out of this, okay? This was just to illustrate a point. We shouldn't have had a red flag. Again, this is the sports expert being put in front of us the day after the most corrupt event in the sport, and he's there put in front of us to lie to us. He is an abuser. Martin Brundle, you are an abuser. So, we now have a situation where McLaren are now appealing, and the abuser that works for the BBC had a question and answer session, which was my last video, and he was asked the question, why didn't Max get one for forcing a driver off the track? And the BBC's expert couldn't answer that question. Instead, he perpetrated abuse by validating what's taken place, by presenting that what the stewards have done is what the stewards have done. He's never presented that they've done something that's egregious and it's entirely wrong. He has never exposed that the FIA are entirely corrupt. He has just served. He has served, he will be of service. That is the people in this sport. They have served, they will be of service. They will do what they need to do. They will do what is expected of them. They will report in the manner that is expected of them in order to keep their job and keep taking the money. That is the type of individuals they are. Understand that. That narrative is coming from above them. They are being made to report it in this manner. By whom? Who is setting the narrative for this show of Formula One? And it is making its media all report about it in the same way. None of them are able to identify the things that I'm exposing. Why is that? Why is that? And as I say, even this notion of this document here, this is an abuse. This process is an abuse. This is not identifying the problem, is it? The problem is the corrupt nature of that steward's decision. And they are saying, unless McLaren can produce something that is new, that the stewards didn't have at their disposal at the time they made that corruption, and at the time the stewards were corrupt, then, nothing will get done here. Well, that's corrupt. That demonstrates a governing body that is corrupt and is not fit for purpose. They are operating as tyrants. Understand that. So, McLaren, the only evidence that you need is this. Lap 1, similar incident, and it's irrelevant that it was on lap 1. Absolutely irrelevant. We have a car that's ahead of the other car. That's all that matters. But the car that is behind is making the attacking, overtaking manoeuvre. What happens with that? In the process of making the attacking, overtaking manoeuvre, because it's behind, it's now attacking, you can see. In doing so, it's carrying too much speed around the corner to safely go around that corner and leave the car that it's trying to take the position of track room. What it does, it runs that car off the track and goes off track itself. That's dangerous driving, but it doesn't benefit from gaining position. The car that was in second retains second. The car that was attacking is still in third. The infringement there is that the car that made the attacking move was driving dangerously and drove the other car off the track, made the other car have to take evasive action to avoid a collision. So the penalty is for the driver who was driving dangerously. In terms of, was there any position changes? No, there weren't. So nobody's giving any places back, are they? So the same incident, very, very similar. And this is all that matters, because it doesn't matter who's ahead at the apex. The car that is in the lead, as clearly defined on the timing screen here. Lando Norris in 3rd place. Max Verstappen in 4th place, approaching the corner. The car ahead being attacked by the car that is behind it. The car that's behind it in 4th is attacking, carrying more speed into the corner, but is not driving with sufficient control to be able to keep his car on the track. And in the process, the car that is under attack, the car that was in 3rd, has to leave the track in order to avoid the collision. In doing so, he rejoins the track in 3rd position. There's been no change of position. That is fine. The infringement is the car that has tried an overtaking manoeuvre, not been able to drive safely, and in the process of trying to do an overtaking manoeuvre, it has forced the other car to have to leave the track. Otherwise, there would have been a collision. It's not a valid overtaking manoeuvre because Max Verstappen could not overtake Lando Norris for 3rd position in a manner that is acceptable. You have to complete an overtaking manoeuvre both by keeping yourself on the track, which he couldn't do, so it's an invalid overtaking manoeuvre, and you have to leave your opponent track room in the process. You can't force them off the track in the overtaking manoeuvre, as demonstrated with the penalties handed out to George Russell and to Yuki Tsunoda. There is no penalty for Lando Norris. Lando Norris was the victim. He was forced off to take that evasive action, otherwise would have been involved in a crash. Lando Norris was in 3rd position going into the corner. He remains in 3rd. The penalty to be applied is to the driver that drove in an unsafe manner and was driving dangerously. The penalty is to be applied to Max Verstappen, and that is the simple nature of it. Let's see what the FIA do, because I'm pretty sure they're not going to do what I've just told you in this video. The media are abusers. The FIA are abusers. They are abusing each and every one of us by trying to convince us that things aren't what they are. That's an abuse. That is messing with people's minds. That is messing with people's values. What that does, it causes a problem in society. It's far bigger than Formula One. Far bigger than Formula One. And as I've said all the way along, what that does, that appeals to people's desire-driven motives, as opposed to instilling in people what is the difference between right and wrong. It's not about what you want. It's not about how you feel. It's all about what is right and what is wrong. It's not about how you can twist the argument to try and win an argument. It's not about what lawyers do. Okay, law is the difference between right and wrong. Lawyers try to win an argument, irrespective of what is right and what is wrong. That is what is put in front of us as judicial process. That is fucked up. As soon as you start realising that, you'll realise that the judicial process that they present us with is fucked up. The fact that they even give these corrupt lawyers the time of day and pretend that they've got some sort of value in the process, that somebody's have to coin them a shitload of money to present that corrupt argument, well, that's facilitated by the legal system to enable those lawyers to even construct that kind of corrupt argument. And the judges make it look like, oh yes, well this is part of the process, and we have to assess whether or not what they're saying has validity and has value, rather than just dismissing it as being utter bullshit. Start understanding that. Start having a clear definition of what is right, what is wrong, and what the process is in determining that. And understand that when we come back to this, even this document, the so-called FIA document, which is the intention of appeal by McLaren, this process is even a corrupt process. This statement here, The hearing will be in two parts. The first part will be to hear evidence as to whether or not there is a significant and relevant new element which was unavailable to the party seeking the review. There doesn't need to be anything new. The fact is, you had at your disposal the brake traces of Verstappen. You can see he came off the brakes. You have the video footage that I have just showed you, which clearly demonstrates the situation. What you claim is that, okay, let's just go back to these documents here, that you claim, or I don't know whether they did or not, but I know Anthony Davidson, in his analysis of it by Sky Sports, when the media is put in front of us, they lie about it. Let's have a look. The original decision by the stewards is this. Car 4 was overtaking car 1 on the outside. No, car 4 had overtaken car 1 on the outside, was clearly showing on the timing screens that it was ahead of car 1. So therefore, straight away, your original decision is corrupt, because that is what you've cited to be the case when it is factually wrong. The facts are here. Look at this. Who is in third position? Lando Norris. Who now is in fourth position? Max Verstappen, car 1. Who needs to perform an overtake to become the third place competitor? Well, that is Max Verstappen. So straight away, that's a corrupt description. Car 4 was overtaking car 1 on the outside. Corrupt. But was not level with car 1 at the apex. Irrelevant. Therefore, under the driving standard guidelines, as Andrew Benson tells us, the secret document that none of the public get to see, that's bullshit. It's a bullshit explanation and it's not relevant. What's relevant is two cars dueling on track, going into the corner, have to leave each other track room and have to leave each other track room on exit. What do they say? Car 4 has lost the right to the corner. Ridiculous. Ridiculous. Imagine this. Every racetrack has multiple corners. They might have 16 corners. They might have 20 corners on a racetrack. Each and every corner is different. Some of them are just slight bends and curves, and some of them are like hairpins, almost coming back on yourself, like a 180-degree turn. Okay, some are 90 degrees, some are 70 degrees, some are 130 degrees. They're all different angles. The rules of engagement for motor racing do not differ depending on the angle of the corner. They're a general principle that are defined for all corners at all racetracks. And they are that if you are in the braking zone and you have earned the right to racing room around that corner, you must be given racing room around that corner. If you have effectively just a kink in the road that they define as a turn, there's a bit of curbing on the inside, you can then define an apex on that curbing, the midpoint of the corner where you then go on to the next line for the next straight. If you reach that first, that does not give you the right to drive the other car off the track. It doesn't do that. So that doesn't give you the right at any other type of corner on the racetrack. So the FIA, the corrupt stewards, defining that reaching the apex first means that you don't have, or reaching the apex second means that you don't have the right to the track. It's utter lies. Utter lies. But that's what they've done. The second corrupt statement in the steward's decision. Car 4 has lost the right to the corner. Corrupt followed by corrupt. Accordingly, as car 4 left the track and returned in front of car 1, no, it was in front of car 1 going into that corner. It then emerged from that corner still in front because the overtaking manoeuvre was invalid. It is deemed to be a case of leaving the track and gaining a lasting advantage. It didn't leave the track of its own accord. Well, had it ever attempted to remain on track, it would have been collided with. Car 4 was clearly taking evasive action. Did it appear that car 4 was travelling at such a speed that had car 1 not have been there, car 4 would have not been able to make it around that corner on the line that it was, travelling at the speed it was, because it was driving recklessly. It clearly did not appear that, did it? It clearly appeared that were it not for the presence of car 1, car 4 would have been able to make it around that corner, remaining on that racetrack. We will never know, but that is what it would appear. It would appear that the inputs of Lando Norris would have enabled him to do that. The only thing that prevented him from doing that was the presence of car 1, which was committing an infringement of driving out of control and forcing the other car to have to leave the track. Otherwise, there would have been a certain collision. That is the offence. But they've imposed a 5-second penalty. No, they're being nice here. They've imposed a 5-second penalty instead of a 10-second penalty recommended in these guidelines that we don't get to see again, as Andrew Benson will tell you, but can quote from. Because having committed to the overtaking move on the outside, who has committed to the overtaking manoeuvre on the outside? No, he's already overtaken him. He's in the lead. He's overtaken. The overtaking manoeuvre is coming from the inside. So this is once again a lie. This is once again a misrepresentation of the true circumstance of the situation, demonstrating once again that them stewards are entirely corrupt. Has car 4 had little alternative than so you've acknowledged that Norris had no option but to leave the track. He's got no option, otherwise there's a collision. So what's that? That's being forced off the track. Other than to leave the track because of the proximity of car 1, which had also left the track. So yes, Max Verstappen had left the track. That means he'd driven around that corner with too much speed to be in control of his own car to keep his own car on the track. But not only was he required to keep his own car on the track, which he couldn't do, he was required to afford the car that he was trying to overtake racing room on that track on the exit to the corner, which he did not do. That is the offence. The offender is Max Verstappen. That was clear for everybody to see at the time. This is a clear corrupt decision from them stewards, and they are saying they will only review that decision if McLaren can produce new evidence. The evidence is you are corrupt then. This is how filthy they are. So, let's see where it goes. But don't trust corruption. They won't right themselves. That will do on this video. I'm going to make some shorter ones because I realise that the longer ones people can't keep with. So I'm just going to make a few short ones. Hopefully this has been informative to you. We'll see where this one goes. Thank you for your time.